Hey, it's 5-minute video time. I'm going to change things up a little bit here. Instead of talking about organic church, I wanted to talk about something that just came out today. Barna Research just released the State of the Church 2016. It's a long report. I'm not going to be able to cover the whole thing, but just my first initial impressions off the top of my head for this video. They found that 73% of Americans identify as Christian. So that's a pretty big majority. 20% is the next largest segment, and they claim no faith whatsoever. And the rest of the remainder of that number is either not sure or identifies as other, which could be Hindu, Muslim, etc., Buddhist, etc. Now, they did ask another question of that same sample group of people, and this was interesting, that of those people who identify as Christian, only 31% of them attend church regularly, and 41% of them, even though they identify themselves as being followers of Christ, do not attend church. So that means the majority of Christians in America, at least self-identified Christians, do not attend church in America. That is pretty fascinating to me. And a couple of things jump up to me as I look through this report, not just those statistics, but in general. I guess one thing that kind of bothered me was how really church attendance seems to be the measuring rod for someone living their Christian faith or practice their faith. So they have a category here of how Americans practice their faith, and that's largely measured by whether or not they attend church. And as you can see, majority of them do not. They also talk about giving, and that was interesting that according to their survey, Americans give away, 54% of Americans give money to their church. 22% of Americans give money to another nonprofit other than a church. So I guess that's okay. But here's one statistic that sort of jumped out at me. It says, the graph says how Americans experience and express their faith. And these are the categories: pray to God, attend a church service, read the Bible, volunteer at a nonprofit, volunteer at church, attend Sunday school, attend a small group. Now, before I get into the percentages of who does what, I guess that really concerns me. That when Barna goes to do a study of Christians in America, and they ask the question, how do American Christians, how do they experience their faith and how do they express their faith? I don't know if you noticed there, but the majority of options have to do with attending a meeting. I mean, is that all of our faith? Is our faith mainly just we go to meetings and then we give money? Is that it? It concerns me that we see ourselves that way, that we measure our own faith that way. Hopefully you don't. I don't. But apparently Barna can't think of anything to ask or any other ways to measure faith in Jesus other than going to a service at a building once a week, volunteering to serve that church, attending another meeting at church, a Sunday school class, or attending another church event, which would be a small group during the week. Attendance, I mean, it really concerns me that attendance is the primary way we're measuring faith in Christ. And by the way, the by far and away, the largest percentage of the way Christians in America express their faith according to this and the options given to them, 75% of those said they prayed to God, and 35% or less attended a church, read the Bible, volunteered at church, attended Sunday school, or attended a small group. with the smallest number, 16% attending a small group. There's a whole lot to say about this report, and I've only skimmed it. I'm going to read through it again, and we'll continue a series, I think, going through this report and talk about what we find. What does it say about us? What does it say about Christianity in America? And what we can learn from it and hopefully chart a better course. Thanks for listening.